We have two scenarios for checkout payment. First scenario for a user that doesn't have account, and the second scenario for a user has account and can log in and store their details. So let's start with the first scenario for a user that don't have account and, for example, don't like to create account or register in your website. So we need to allow them to add a product to their basket and do the check out and the payment process to the end without login or creating an account. Let's first, for example, demonstrating here. Let's say just we have this first user added this product, for example, and this color here with this 11 size and quantity 2, and adding this second one. Now if I go to my basket here, so I need to check out, do the payment process, and as you see that still we didn't log in, so we can press this checkout and this will redirect us to Stripe checkout page. And here where we can start fill our details. Let's just, for example, call this user called Mimi, for example, at gmail.com, and just the name Mimi, and the address, let's say 100 King Road, it's just fake address, Glasgow, and then the postcode also fake postcode. And this test card number is going to be just 42424242 until the end, and same as here 4242, and this would be any number. And then as we see that is showing here the total price for this checkout payment, and also will show the price for each product and the quantity for each one of these products, and even the title for these products. So if I press payment, this will processing the payment, and after this done, will redirect us to basket, and will empty the basket automatically as you saw, and it will show this notification here, say that your order is being placed, and you will get an email notification. So you can continue process, do your normal shopping. And also before go to next step, we can visit our Srtipe account here, so we can see the payment that we did just now. If I navigate to payment here page, and as you see, this is the last payment we got, is succeeded, is was £90, and we can see more details for this payment, and you can see the customer shipping details and the product that already finished the process for, and this is the payment for. More details down here about the payment and location and so on. So this payment was successfully done for a user that doesn't have account. Let's, for example, try go and log in for one of the users that I have already. I have Ali. If I log in as Ali, and for example, I like this hoodie and want two of this hoodie with medium size, and want this blue one with a large size, for example, quantity 3, and added that to the basket. I can go to my basket here, I can see my product, and I can log out and try log in with a different user. I want to show you, so this data should be filtered specifically for a user, so there is a relation, so for the basket and the user, so each user should see their own data, shouldn't access other people's data. So if we log in as a John, as you see that John basket is empty. If you try just select, for example, this main jeans pants, and for example need quantity of 2 of this medium size, and want this one large size, and then we can go to the basket here, so we can process the payment. As you see that the total is 120, and the quantity for all of them is 4. I can do the checkout here. So again, I can actually reject the checkout. If, for example, if I don't want to proceed, I can just press this back, will take me back, and will show this message here, a notification message say payment is cancelled. And again, I can check out again actually to finish the process for this user. Let's just call it John. So I can pay, processing the payment, and that's green, successfully redirect me to my login, and payment is received. And also this actually forgot to show you this basket for this user. Before finishing the payment, we should go and access our backend admin where we can see the basket. So now we have only 2 items inside the basket because it's for Ali. So John basket has been removed. So we can confirm this if we go back here and try to log out as John. Let's try log in as Ali. Ali has 2 products in his basket. Let me just close this one. So as you see that we have 2. If you go to the admin here, so the basket has 2 products. As you see, this 2 product is main hoodie, and this is the main hoodie that we have. So we can confirm after finishing the payment process. So we should see 2 products has been removed from the basket because this user has account. Their data is stored inside this backend database. So we can do finishing the process for the payment, same as we did for previous user. And as you see that the total is 200, and just press pay. And that is done, successfully redirecting to the basket, emptying the basket. Now if I go to my admin, try to reload this page, and I should see just empty basket. So that now emptying the basket, and even if I go to this Stripe account, I can see the last payment, it was 200. So from the Ali user, as you see that Ali is here. And again, I can see the previous payment, also 120, that was from John, as you see that here. So that's it. So this for the payment, checkout, and adding a product to the basket. So let's go and move to next step and showing you how we can do this. Hello folks, welcome to Duane Tech channel. As you saw on the demo that just showing you how to add a product to the basket and how you finishing the process to do the checkout, payment, and for 2 different scenarios, for a customer has account and a customer doesn't have account. So both are working as you saw, and we are going to just start directly to do this. But before that, I would recommend first to go to watch the previous tutorial following to this, which was about creating as a basket. So if you didn't watch that, try go back, watch it. And also if you didn't subscribe until now, try to subscribe so you get all new video and tutorials. Try press thumb up and share the content to support the channel so I can continue adding more tutorials. So let's just go and start directly how to build. Let's first try just run our application locally. Need to open the terminal. So need to navigate first to server directory, then do npm run develop. Then opening another terminal and navigate to client and do npm start. So it seems there is an error, but let's first try see the browser. So there is complaint about this basket. So this from last tutorial, let's just fix this. So importing the basket in app component. So this small letter instead of B capital letter. So that should be fixing this one. Yep. So that our basket is here now. Need to navigate to access the server. So let's see, navigate to the server. So this is the server endpoint that we need to access, and just hope this one here, and that we logged in our admin side. Let me just close this tab. And so if you go to the page here for content manager, so we have this data already exists on basket for some user. Let's see the users that we have. If we go to users, we have only one test active user. So let's just remove all the basket so we can start from scratch. Now if we go to the app here, navigate one of this product. So we need to log out. Let's make out and then try log in again. Let's for example add one of these products just to check the basket is working as expected. That showing successfully is added, but I don't see that is showing here. Because we need to update the user rules every time actually local we develop. So we need to navigate to these rules here, then authenticate it. We need to go to the basket that is authenticated. We need to go to the here. So I just remember in last tutorial we forget to also to add this header, authentication header, to the when getting the user. For example, we need to add this auth header. So we need to get the basket only for the user that is logged in. To do that, so in this endpoint to get the basket, we can add just comma here and add that here, save it, go to the browser, and then that should be it. So if I come to the app, that sees that my basket now has one item. So if I go back and again add more, so now we have 2 items, so we can add fine. And so let's just start to build the checkout. But before that, let's try do some preparation. First, we need to install some dependencies. So for the server and for the client, let's open the terminal here. Let's add 2 more terminal, one for the client and one for server. In server, just we need to install Stripe, npm I Stripe. For the client, we need to install npm I. We need to install ReactJs, and we need to install Stripe dash or /Stripe dash.js and hit enter. So leave this just now installing. And next we need to go and try to create a new folder here, call it inside component, call it checkout. And inside checkout we are gonna just create index.js and create this fake component here and just call it checkout too. So now if I go to this cart or basket component here, we have this button called checkout. If we go to the basket here, so this checkout button, we need to move it from here to instead of this. So we are going to create a component called checkout, this one here. This should return this button instead of this div. And we need to import this button from ReactStrap. And we need to import this checkout component inside this index file to render it here. Let's call it checkout. So this automatically should be imported here. Need to save it. Go back to the browser. Still we should see the browser is here. It's fine. And now we can go back to this checkout. So inside this checkout, let's just try to create a function. Instead of calling this empty function, we are going to create a function called handle payment, and just create that here. And we are going to use a thing await, so because we are going to call the API. And before that, we need to just import this dependency from ReactStrap or this library, load Stripe. And before the function, we need to load this Stripe in this line. So calling this load Stripe and then passing this environment variable, which is a key for Stripe. I'm going to show you how to create this and where to get it from. And inside this Stripe, we are going to use try catch, because as I mentioned, we are going to make a call for the API. Inside this try, I'm going to just add this to line or 3 line. So just declaring this variable, call it Stripe, which should be just call this Stripe promise. And then we need to import Axios and then make a post request to this endpoint API/orders. We didn't create this orders endpoint yet. We are going to create it. And then this will pass the data that we are going to save for the order, which is going to be the product inside the basket. We need to pass it down as a props to this component. And we need to pass the header authentication for this request. And this header, because we have 2 scenarios for the payment. We have a scenario for a customer has account and another scenario for a customer that doesn't have account. So we need to create that just here inside this before the try catch. We need to create this variable, call it handle config, and then we need to check if there is a token, and we get the token only after the user is logged in. So we need to pass it also as a props to this component. If there is a token, and then pass authorization, and then payer, and then the token. Otherwise, just pass empty curly braces. Then we use it here as a header authorization setting. Inside this catch, we can just console log the error if there is any error. So after this request is being successfully done, we'll return this session, and then we need to tell the Stripe to redirect us to the checkout page by doing this stripe.redirect to checkout. Then we need to pass the session ID, which we get it from as a response of this request, API request here. And we need to just fix this instead of that error. And that is for this component. But before go to next, we need to create an environment variable inside this directory. So just new variable, a file called .env. So this is where we can initiate the environment variable for this checkout here. So if you see this React app dash Stripe key, so we can go to that file we just created here. And then you need to assign your key here. So where to get it from, you need to go back to your Stripe account. So you need to create, if you don't have one, you can create a free one. So this is free. You need to make sure to change this mode instead of to live, as you see that's showing live mode, but you need to check it to change it to test mode. So this not charge you for the using of this testing key. So these two keys here that you need to get. So this is a secret key that we are going to use it in server, but we are going to use the public key on the client. So this is where you need to add your public key. I'm going to add it here, but I'm not going to show you. So it's just for security purpose. If go to the next file, so after adding this, you need to rerun the app because to access this environment variable. So just make sure to rerun the client, stop it and run it again. So now we can go to the server and go to this. It will redirect to log out. Let's log in again. Now let's go to this content builder. Let's create the order endpoint and just create a new collection, call it order. And this order will have email. So this we can pass the user email. So later we can filter these orders for each user by email. Just add email, just call it email, add another field, which is the data types JSON, which orders themselves, and add this text, so which is going to be the Strapi or a Stripe ID. So this Stripe ID is for the payment. So if you need to get these details later, so you can make requests using this ID, and then press just finish and save. So that is redirecting us. We can just now log in again. So now we logged in. So we need to add some setting for this new endpoint we added. So we need to access this order endpoint to create order if I authenticated or a public. Both we should do that. So we can allow the two different user types to make payment, redirecting us. So for create and then save this setting. Then let's just go to the code, let's collapse the client, go to server, inside server source API, just this new API we created, go to the controller. We are going to modify the controller, so let's just add a comma here. So this is how to modify the controller. This will pass Stripe. So we need to import also this here. We need to import a Stripe and then passing this environment variable, also Stripe secret key, so which I showed you earlier. I'm going to show it again, and this is a local domain that we are going to use to redirect to. So just local variable. You can add this to your environment variable too. So this is because the purpose of the development just locally we're using the local host, but when we'll come to the deployment to production, then we'll try update this to use the production endpoint instead. So inside here, first endpoint we need to edit, which we create when creating this product, which is gonna be a sync call, which is sync await, and then create. And this create is just a function, not custom create, and this create will expect, and here just is async, and create will expect context. And then inside this create, we can destructure the orders and the email from this context. Const let's destructuring orders, so we can get it pass through this context dot request. dot body. If you know how to use Express, this is just very similar. We can get the email from the context state, user state, by just using context dot state dot user. And this email, because we have two different type of user, a user that doesn't have account, in this scenario will not be able to access state, so we need to add this combination just to make sure not breaking our server. And if there is no state, just return empty email, which is fine. Then try catch. Inside this try, we are going to create this here, this session. Let me just save this to format. So this session, you can find these full details on ReactStrap documentation. So if you just come back here to Stripe doc, for example, Stripe documentation. So here where you can search for React Stripe. So this is here where you can find all these steps, how to use ReactStrap on server and on client. So you find the both scenario. Can even do search for this. So you can just click here and give you more details about this, and can select Node.js. Will show you how to create a session. So this is how to use the documentation for the Stripe. And if you go back here, so we need to create a session, and this session will expect some keys here. So we need to pass the shipping country that allow shipping country. For my scenario, I'm just going to allow this to Great Britain. So you can add for the country that you need to shipping for or shipping to, and then you need to add the payment type. For this scenario, I'm going to use only card, but there is many different ways to add this payment. If you go to the Stripe again, you can see this payment method. Just select payment method. So we'll show you the more options down here. So you can pay by cards or pay by Google Play, Apple Pay, PayPal. So there's more options that will allow you to pay by different methods, but for our scenario we are going to just use a card. So if come back here, so that's the method, and the mode is going to be payment. And if this payment successfully, it will redirect you to any URL that you pass to, but in our scenario we are going to redirect to this basket endpoint, and then passing this query called success equal true. And if there is for example, user just cancels the payment and redirect back to the website, it will redirect you to the basket again with the query called cancel and assign to true. And then we'll expect these line items. So these are items that will be shown on the checkout for the products. So we are going to create this products list here before this session. So here, let me add this code here. So I'm going to use promise.all because these products, we are going to use these orders. So this list of products. So we are going to go over each one of these products and to make a request to get the price for this product from the database. So we are not going to use the client price. So maybe the user fakes that price or hacked that price to reduce it, but we are going to make a request using the Strapi and go call this endpoint for the product, passing the product ID, which will be passed inside this order that we get it inside this list of orders. So after getting the product back, then we'll try return an object. This object will have a price data, and this price data you can add this initial or required field, switch the currency. So in my scenario, I'm going to use the British pound. You can use the US dollar or whatever that currency you are using. And the product data. So inside the product data, you can pass the name of the product. And then outside that, inside this price data, we are going to add this unit amount. And the unit amount by default, because it will be in pence or in cent if you are using a dollar or for US dollar, we need to multiply the price by 100 so we can get £1 multiplied by the product price. Then outside this price data, we'll add the quantity for that product, which will be just the product order quantity. We get it from client. And so that if for at the end we return this array of products, and each product will include this object, and then we assign it to this line items, which will be displayed on the view as we saw when we check out, but we can check it sooner again. At the end here, before returning, we need to save this data inside the order endpoint or order table. So we'll call Stripe, Strapi using the order endpoint, and then creating this data, which includes the orders. We get it from this here, from the body, request body, and the email we get it from the user state or this context if the user is logged in, and Stripe ID, which we get it from this session we just created here. So this session will return an object, and that object including the ID. After saving this product data, then we can just return a new object, and inside this new object we can just return a Strapi session, and this which will be just session.id, or just return the full session and save it, that we're returning that. And if there is any error, just return, let's return the response status, set the response status to 500, and then at the end just try return the error itself. So this is the order endpoint is ready to use, but before that we need to do some modification to the basket endpoint. So if you come to the basket, so this basket endpoint, if you remember that we created, let's go to the browser first to the basket endpoint inside the server. Here, content builder, let's log in again. Now if you go to the basket, we need to add a new field to this basket. If you remember, we were adding this data we don't have any identifier, user identifier. So if we need to filter this basket for user specific, we don't have any identifier. So we need to add a new field here, which email is going to be called just user email. Finish and save. If you come back here, so if we open this, we can use that. You see that it's empty. Let's just go back and let's make this is required. So it shouldn't finish the process if empty. Let's just make this field is required and save it. So now if we go, let's try just remove this basket because it doesn't have a user email. So now if we go back again here, let's again try just modify this endpoint. So first endpoint we need to modify when getting this list of basket. So inside here I'm going to add this code, I'm going to explain it. So first we need to modify find when try to get list of basket instead of previously. If you go to the client here, let's showing you on this use basket, we are just getting the basket and that we don't have any identifier, so we'll get all the basket for all different users. So this is not good practice. So we can see other people's data in their basket, which is not good. So we need to fix that. Let's just go back to the basket endpoint. When we need to find the basket, we need first to access the email. So we can access the email for the user that is logged in from the state, and you will not access the basket if you don't have a user account. So that's we make sure always we can access the user email here. So we can make a query by using strapi.db.query and then the basket endpoint, then find many. So we need to find more than one basket where the user email is equal to this email for the user that is logged in. If then is equal, return the data. Otherwise, try to set the response status to 500 and then return the error. So this still works fine. If you go to the browser, let's go try to the app here. I reload the page because we don't have basket data. Let's try go and add this one. And we need to go back and update the setting for. And now if we go to the setting, go to rules, basket, we need to go to authorized, we need allowed. Let's come back to the app, click a different product. Let's just see what's wrong. Come to the console. This is complaint because as you see that we made the email is required, but seems is not passing the email down. Let's just log out and try log in again, and then try go to this basket, add this product, and let's go to the server. Let's just open this tab here. This here server is running. Let's go back and we can console log this state. So if we try to add a product again, let's try see the error. If we go to the here, so we access the state, we can access the email, and because we return this data now, so the actual order data, we need to update the client. So this email is accessed, we can access the email. So we need to go to the client and go to use basket, and when we get this new data here, let's see this basket. Previously we were flattening the data, so we don't need to do that anymore. Instead of that, let's just remove this because we return the data directly, and this is going to be just data, this data here. If we save it and go to the browser, the issue because we try to find an email with we try to find a basket with email assigning to this user, but because we didn't update the create endpoint yet, so this is only to find. So first, next let's just add the create, which we should do first before the find actually. So let me just add that here after this line. So this for the create. When we create this new product, or when adding the product to the basket, we need to add the email for that user. So that's how we can do it. So we call the create this, which will be representing post endpoint, and then we'll call this Strapi server to access the basket endpoint, and then create. We pass down the body data that we get is through the request of this context, and then we assign this user email. With this email we access it inside this context state user, and then at the end we just pass back this data that we saved inside the database for the basket. If there is an error, we'll return set the response to 500 and we'll return the error. If we save that and try go to the browser again, and this time we should be able to add the product successfully. That's added, and again also it should show the product on the basket. And if you remember also, if you go back to the client, we just updated this file here inside the basket to not flattening the data. If we just undo that one, so that should break the code and it will not work. As you see, that is not showing the data. As I mentioned, we don't need that flattening anymore. We can just remove it and add this data here instead directly, which we pass it from the API. So this one here when we're getting the data. So that's the create and the finding. So now filtering the basket based on the user email. As you see that we make the query where the email user email equal to email gets that basket data, otherwise will not get other people data. And same when we're creating or adding a new product to the basket, now we adding the user email to that data. Next we need to add update the delete also for this file. So we need to add also the delete for the basket. So currently, as if you remember, we delete by removing from here. Let's see just first the basket. Now we have let me log in again. We have one product, but let's try add multiple of these, for example 2. And now if I go to the basket and now try to remove this one, it's showing me an error 4x4. And if try reload, still that's there. Let me fix the error. So for this basket here, if you see inside this card, we'll call remove, actually update remove, and so this remove here is expecting this basket ID. So this should be just the product ID. We are going to pass it as a top, and same this here should be product ID, and that's also for update. So we expect the product ID to be passed down here, pass of this product, and we don't need this ID anymore. So this product data is coming from this basket here, so this product here. And now if we save it, let's just make sure that file is saved, and that is saved. And now if we go to the browser, that is removed now, and if it reloads this here, one of these is removed. So as you see, this is one of the scenario how to remove the product from a basket. And the second scenario, we need to remove this product when you do the checkout, finishing the payment process, and then automatically just remove this data. And to do that, we need to update the delete or endpoint for the basket. Just go to that endpoint again inside server, go to API, basket, controllers, and then basket.js. After this create, let's just add this delete. So this delete again, it will be same as find and create. So we can access email, user email from this context, and then we can access also the ID. We pass it down to the delete endpoint, which is here. If we scroll to the end, this is where we call the delete. We pass this ID, and if I just go back again here to, then we'll check here. So because we are going to pass two different of ID, of this ID equal fake ID, then try to make this query. We'll try to find this product inside the basket where the user email equal to this user, then try to remove it. Otherwise, if this is not fake ID, do the normal delete process, which just make a query where the ID of that product equal to this ID we pass through the prom. So which is currently what we're doing. So for this endpoint, for this fake endpoint, we need to access that or to use that inside the client. Let's go just collapse server. Let's come back to the client, come back to checkout here, or to the basket, use basket. Let me just collapse this file. So this one, let's just fix this ESLint error. Is required to call this function inside here. Let's just call it inside. That should just removing this error. Actually, before doing to delete this basket data, so first let's just make sure the checkout is working. So now if I just click on checkout, nothing is working, is returning 500. Let me try to add this environment variable. If you remember, if you go to the server, we added for the client, but we didn't add for the server. Let me go to this order, and then controller orders. If you see this here, we need to add this environment variable. Inside the server already we have environment variable here, a file. So let's just add that key here, and then go to Stripe payment, and then go to home page, and you need to make sure you set this mode to test as I mentioned. So this is a secret key. You can reveal the secret key. So after you reveal the secret key, you can just come back here and just assign it to your environment variable. So now after adding that environment variable, you need just to make sure it runs the server. Just try, that's actually already reloaded. Let's go to the browser and try again to just press checkout. Still showing an error. So let's also try go back to the server. Let's make sure log in. Let's make sure actually we did set the rule for authenticated to access create. We need to set this authenticated to access create, and also public should be able to access order create. Both of them should be able to access. So now because this user is logged in, so let's try again. Still we have this error, but now if you go to the terminal, we see more details about the error. Cannot read properties of undefined, so that seems cannot access the orders data. So this order data forget to pass, so that's why we have this error. If we go back to this use basket, so if you remember, we should pass the orders to the cart or to the checkout. So this checkout, we expect these products. This is a checkout component here. So we need to pass these products. This, instead of that, should be just a basket of all basket, just pass basket instead. If you go back and try again, go to the terminal again, let's see what this time error is, and complain about checkout line 35 inside the API endpoint. This should be called Strapi. So now if you go back again, try hopefully this last time, and check out, boom, that is promising, but show cannot read property of undefined ID. Alright, let's go back again. What is this about? That is 200 at least now, but we have a different error. Okay, that inclined seems inside checkout. We'll try to access this session. Need to make sure just we didn't misspell that one. Yeah, seems we did misspelling this one. This is Camille case. Save it again, try again, check out, boom, now it's redirecting. Ooh, this first step we are sure that is redirecting. We are going to just cancel this one, and as you see that is canceling, it's not removing this basket, but it's not showing this notification. And you see also setting this query cancel equal to true. We need to go back to the code, and now we can go back inside this use book. So we need to add another use effect here. So inside this use effect, we are going to check if there is no token. So if there is no user login, then try, you need to import this query, this function. Actually, this query function exists on use, or this product use product view. We need to export it from here. We created in previous tutorial to get a query value from the browser URL. So we need to import that here. Let me just import it, query, enter, that is imported here. And then you need to pass this search. We can get it just from the browser, from the window. So we'll check if there is no token, then check if the query is equal to success is true, and then try show this notification, order placed, you will receive email confirmation. And then set this basket to empty, and if it's cancel equal to true, then just show this toast error, payment is cancelled. Let's update the dependencies here. So let's go back and try again. Let's see, because it's still the cancel is here, it's showing us this message. And if we try it again to do the checkout and then cancel, then that is showing the error. And because this here is not care where if the user is logged in or not, so that's why it shows this cancellation. But if the payment successfully, it will not show that. So we need to do another condition for a user that has account. So if a user has account, we need to do this process. If a user is logged in, if there is a token, then we need to check if success query exists and the value is equal to true, because that would be wrapped as a string. And then we need to create this function here to delete the basket. Basically, this function, it will make request using axios.delete. We'll call this endpoint here. Instead of this 37 should be 38. In your scenario will be 37. And we'll pass a /fake ID. If you remember earlier on the basket API, added a condition here on the controller when we delete any product from the basket. Is the ID equal fake, we need to just remove the basket data where user email equal to current users that logged in. So in this scenario, we can just delete the data for the users that logged in, not other users. So if we go back again to client, after passing this fake ID, then we'll pass the header, authorization, and then at the end, if this successfully, basically we'll go to this line, we'll show this toast success notification. Otherwise, we'll catch the error at the end here and will not show any error. So if we save this, go back to the basket here. So that, as I mentioned, shows this notification because this exists. If we remove it and reload, nothing will happen. But now let's try to check out for this basket. And before finishing the process, let's go to the API here, to the backend admin, and if you see, our basket has one product. And now if let's try add any data here for this user, for example email Ali, and then pay. That's successfully redirecting empty the basket and showing the success toast. If you go to the admin, reload this page, we shouldn't see that basket, so that successfully is working. And now this for the user has account. Let's just log out. Let's try for a user that doesn't have account. For example, we add this basket to the basket and go to, let's try add a different one with a different size, different quantity, and just go to here. Let's just close this tab here. We don't need that anymore. And before doing anything, let's also make sure still we can update this data. We can, so that as you see, this is not working and we cannot update this basket. Let's see why it's not updated. Let's see, open the terminal here. Let's try update. So for that user should be this update. This update, if you see these both are not using similar data, let's just update this to change the size. So basically the new size will be value and quantity will be just quantity. So that's why it should be make this error. So now if I change this to new size, that is working. And now I can change the quantity for this, and I can check out. Let's try check out for a user doesn't have account, successfully redirecting and getting the total and the quantity for each one of them. We can just process, finishing the process, and then hit pay. So that processing is success, redirecting, showing notification message, removing the basket. And this is the second scenario for the user that doesn't have account. And this is the payment successfully being done for the two scenario for different customers that has account and one doesn't have account. So that's it for how to make a checkout using the Strapi payment. So if you still until now didn't subscribe, don't forget to subscribe and share the content with your friends so to support the channel, and press thumb up and leave your comment down. And thank you for watching, and see you in very next tutorial.